Welcome back to another episode, segment, installment. I'm trying to figure out what we're going to call these things other than just like the next number, which this is actually number 8. So T.R.O.Y Chronicles number 8. And yeah, man, it's been a long time coming. I'm trying to provide 2 videos per week. That's what we're aiming for, 2 videos per week. And then once again, we're just trying to, let you all know what we're doing and what we plan on doing with the youth that we deal with here in the Central Valley, and hopefully grow to, the entire state of California, and then the bigger, and back to my home state of St. Louis, Missouri. So yeah, today we're going to kind of just jump right into it and talk about the actual topic today, which is exposure, right? We want to do our best to provide that exposure to our youth. Youth can be exposed to positive things and negative things. We definitely want to focus on the positive. At the same time, give a sense of reality just as well. Because one thing about the T.R.O.Y Center, what we hold in high regard is the fact that we're able to deal with youth from different backgrounds, not just one particular background. A lot of people like to coin the word or term at risk, where when you think of an at-risk youth, you think of a certain demographic. Well, we say impressionable youth because, like I said, we can touch, youth from wealthy backgrounds, wealthy families, or, families or youth from families that have, poor backgrounds or less fortunate, if you will, backgrounds. And yeah, so exposure. And that's just, getting them outside of their 3-block radius. 3-block radius, that's all they know. Their 3 blocks is their world. And there's so much more in the world, let alone just right there in the city, in the inner city, or in the whole city, like the metropolitan cities or whatnot. We want to expose them. We're an hour and a half, 2 hours away from, like a LA, 2.5 maybe. And then if you go up north, another 2.5 hours and you hit the Bay Area, right? And yeah, so we want to be able to expose our youth to different things, different sceneries, different lives, like lifestyles and things of that nature, right? So case in point, I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri. Yeah, and it wasn't until, I don't know if you all are familiar, but the St. Louis Arch, it's the biggest arch in the world, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And I had never been, you can actually go inside of it and go all the way up to the top. I had never been inside of the arch until my mid to late 20s. And it was an experience that I know had I been a kid to go in and see that, something probably would have changed my thought process on how things operate. To know that that structure was man-made, that's like it blew my mind back when I was 20, in my 20s, right? So I can only imagine if I was able to grasp the concept in my, early teens, at least like a high school field trip, never went. But yeah, just little things like that. So now let's fast forward to here in the Central Valley. We have Yosemite, a national park right in our backyard. Right in our backyard. It's ideal for the T.R.O.Y Center to get a number of youth and just take them out to Yosemite one day to let them see nature at its finest, the waterfalls, just the different, like you can go hiking and the air out there is extremely different in regards to it being fresh. Not to knock Fresno's air or whatnot, but we know that the air quality can get a little, sketchy at times, to say the least, right? But no, so going to Yosemite can be something of a breath of fresh air, if you will, no pun intended. But no, an eye opener of sorts for a young man or a young lady, right? So we want to be able to do that and expose them to different things, to let them know and let them see that there is much more to this thing that we call life than their 3-block radius and the things that they had been exposed to all their lives. At the same time, when we're dealing with our youth, a lot of people like to say the term at risk. One of the things that we pride ourselves on is the fact that we deal with impressionable youth. And if you know anything about youth, all of them are pretty much impressionable, right? So we say impressionable because we can deal with youth from all different backgrounds, not just the quote unquote at-risk youth. Because think about it. When you talk about at-risk, a lot of the times, 9 times out of 10, you're talking about a certain demographic, and we all know what that is, right? But there are youth who don't come from that at-risk environment. But guess what? They still need help. They still need exposure. They still need to see things outside of their lens. And that's kind of like an equal balance, right? And just being exposed to something can bring about a sense of self and a sense of know-how. And the other great idea about this whole ordeal is the fact that we can get these 2 different kids and they can teach each other. So what first has to happen is that respect. And that's where we come in. So we get these youth and we're going on an excursion, say to Yosemite. There may be some kids coming from certain, backgrounds that have been to Yosemite before. Well, we want you to come still. Because guess what? You can be a tour guide for us to help the youth who's never been there. And now you all go off and you walk off and you all are talking about things. And that's shaping this new quote unquote society that we want to help implement a positive feel, if you will. And that will come in time. And that's what we're doing. So that's why we have these Choice Center Chronicles, to let you all know what we're bringing to the table. A different approach. Terms are similar, but we're going to tweak it a little bit and think outside of the box. So yeah, exposure is key, right? So we can take these young men and young women to these different, just the mall. What is that? Fashion Fair Mall. Some of the young men and women have never been to Fashion Fair or even Save Mart Center. We want to take them to a Fresno State Bulldog game, right? Basketball, or even to the stadium and see a football game. These are just different things to get them outside to see, wait, this is right around the corner and I have access to this now? That's what it's about, being exposed. I can admit, growing up, there were certain things I looked at through a certain lens, and had I not had the opportunity to change that lens, I would never have been exposed to the things that I'm trying to expose our young men and young women to today. So yeah, exposure is key, and we got to get them outside of their 3-block radius, because their 3-block radius is literally their world. But there is so much more in just the city, let alone the world, that they can go out and explore and be exposed to. And that's what we aim to do. Excuse me. We aim to do that here at the Choice Center. And we think it's extremely, extremely important to get that exposure out there. And so that's what we're on right now. This is Choice Center Chronicles, I believe, like I said, number 8. And we're just bringing some fresh ideas, some different ways of looking at the same problem. The problem's been existing for a long time. So let's try to approach it differently. Because I was once told to continually do the same thing over and over and expect a different result is borderline insanity, right? So a lot of the programs, a lot of the things that were installed when I was younger are still kind of like going on now, but we still have the same problems. So let's take a different approach to these problems that we had when I was younger, whether it be racism, poverty. There's a plethora of things that happened when I was young that are still currently happening. So let's take this approach, starting with, like I said, the things that we're talking about in these now 8 Choice Center Chronicles, with number 8 being exposure. Let's expose our youth to something different than what they're used to. All right. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And we're trying to bring you 2 episodes a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I believe. So yeah, just want to thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you. T.R.O.Y Center, truly reviving our youth. Thank you. Peace.